everybody. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment of all types here in one place. At Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers and new releases to celebrity memoirs, languages, business, motivation, and more, like original entertainment from top celebrity creators and thousands of popular podcasts. As an Audible member, you get 1 credit every month, good for any title in the entire premium selection. That means the latest bestsellers, the buzziest new releases, hottest celebrity memoirs, or that bucket list title you've been meaning to pick up. Those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. You get full access to our popular Plus catalog, filled with thousands and thousands of audiobooks, original entertainment, guided fitness and meditation, sleep tracks for better rest, and podcasts, including ad-free versions of your favorite shows and exclusive series. All are included with your membership at Audible, so you can download and stream all you want, no credits needed. Everything you love to listen to is all in one app. Audible can be your playlist for life, and new members can always try Audible for 30 days on us. I have poked around Audible recently, spent a lot of time in the car, and I just wanted to be sure that my favorite types of books were there. And I found 3 of my favorite books from the last year in the Audible category: American Rule, One Nation Under God, and The View from Flyover Country. Those are 3 of my favorite books I read in the last year, all available within the standard membership, no extra charge, at audible.com. Now, here's what you do. Visit audible.com/tire, T-I-R-E. That's audible.com/tire, or text the word tire to 500-500. That's text tire to 500-500, or go to audible.com/tire to get your special smoking tire rate on the special audible.com membership. We are also brought to you by Harry's Razors. I have been using Harry's Razors now for a very, very long time. In fact, straight up, they sponsored us like 3 or 4 years ago, sent us some razors, and then when that sponsorship ended, I literally just kept buying Harry's Razors. You know, too often you choose between quality and fair prices, especially in razor blades, where we know they are seemingly a ripoff at the drugstore. With Harry's, you don't have to choose. They can give you award-winning blades at factory direct prices. When I first got my Harry's razor, I was surprised at the quality of the blades, especially considering how cheap they are. And when you use the blades in conjunction with Harry's lubricating products, it is a superior shaving experience. Now, you want to try it yourself, right? So for a limited time, Harry's is offering their starter set plus a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/tire. That's a free starter set at harrys.com/tire. They deliver a close, comfortable shave at a fair price with only $2 per refill cost, right? They believe in quality so much they bought their own factory so they could own every step of the blade manufacturing process. It's a great company, and I use their products even when they weren't paying me to say that. Like the last 2 years, this is the first Harry's ad I've done in a while, and I've had their blades and I've shaved my face and head with them every single week. So new customers, get down with the Harry's starter set and a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/tire. That's a $16 value or more for just $3. You get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, a travel cover, and a travel-sized body wash. Have a grooming weekend for just $3 at harrys.com/tire. We're also brought to you by Policy Genius. It's February, shortest month of the year. You've got just a little bit less time to deal with that to-do list. Policy Genius is here to help. They'll help you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can compare your home and auto insurance rates and save up to $1,055 per year by re-shopping with Policy Genius. That's money you can put toward things that you care about, whatever those things might be. Here's what you do. Go to policygenius.com. Go to policygenius.com and answer a few quick questions about yourself and your property. Policy Genius will take it from there. They'll compare rates from over 30 top insurers, from Progressive to Nationwide, to find your lowest quotes. Then the Policy Genius team will look at all the ways you can maximize your savings, including bundling your home and auto policies. And if Policy Genius finds a better rate than what you're paying now, they will switch you over for free $99. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius a 5-star rating across over 1,600 reviews on Trustpilot and Google. Now, if you're worried that March is coming up and you haven't gotten this stuff done, take a deep breath, sit down at the computer, head over to policygenius.com. They'll help you make the most of the shortened month in minutes. Just reshop your home and auto insurance and save up to $1,055 over at policygenius.com. Because Policy Genius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. We are, lastly, but certainly not leastly, brought to you by Keeps this week. Listen, guys, 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they are 35. I can absolutely attest to that. I went 60% bald. I could have gotten Keeps to maybe keep what I had, but instead I went with the Harry's razors, and I went the rest of the way. If you're not willing to commit to full bald like me, you should probably consider Keeps. More than 50 million men in the U.S. suffer from male pattern baldness, and there are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent future hair loss. Keeps offers both. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep the hair you have. Convenient virtual doctor consults and medications are delivered straight to your door every 3 months. Never leave your home to get it. Treatments start at just $10 a month, and Keeps offers generic versions as well. It comes in a discreet packaging and offers proven results. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. And prevention is key, but treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast. If you're ready to take action and prevent future hair loss, go to keeps.com/tire to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's Keeps, Keeps, keeps.com/tire to get your first month for free at keeps.com/tire. Okay, folks, you know the name. You don't need much description. Jason Cammisa is on the Smoking Tire podcast. He's doing car reviews with Hagerty. He's got 3 new shows on the Hagerty YouTube network alongside my new show that's coming next quarter. He's got his Instagram feed where he does some sort of snapshotty type reviews, and he is legendarily nerdy with his spreadsheet of every car he's ever driven, and he's always a great guest on the show. We never know where it's going to end up. We take a wander all over the automotive universe. It's Jason Cammisa on the Smoking Tire podcast. Now it's the show.
Oh, shit. Now I'm going to, okay.
Now it's the
I'm
show.
wonderful. Everything is great. I'm being paid to say everything's great. No, I'm kidding. Life is, 2020 extended. It's
if you were happy, people would stop watching your show. The whole point of your show is that you're unhappy with everything. That's the whole point. It's okay. My show too.
I would be very unhappy with your statement if it wasn't true. Look,
that's why I
not
like
everyone's
your
a
show.
winner.
Because you can, when there's wiggle room. If I criticize a car, there's room for a fan of that car to wiggle their way out of my criticism. If you criticize a car, you put a dozen nails all the way around the coffin.
and you forgot the epoxy adhesive and the super glue and all the rest of it. This is the problem. I have a law degree. I was trained to make a bulletproof argument. Mm-hmm.
Why don't I know
fucking
that?
Argue with me.
Were you ever a lawyer?
No, I actually did a master's in law. I didn't do a JD. So you have to do a Juris Doctor to sit for the bar.
So what is that? We charge you just as much, but you can't make any back on the other end? Is that pretty much how that works?
It actually was kind of funny. So a bunch of universities got together and came up with this program called MSL, which is Master of Studies in Law. And the idea was, it was set up for people who have to interact with lawyers in their daily work life, but who don't want to become a lawyer. So you don't have to do the full 3 years for a day But the fucked up thing, so I did general business law because my previous career was, being an entrepreneur. And I realized that, like, in the course of running a business for a bunch of years, you could fake everything. I could be, I could put my HR guy hat on, I could do everything, but you always need a lawyer and you always need an accountant. Those are two things you can't fake. So I decided to do this and did not realize, because I'm an idiot, because I just signed myself up and just did it, that my first class was going to be a third year advanced contracts class. So neither the professors nor the other students had any way of identifying you as an MSL kid, like an MSL student, and not a JD student. So my first ever class was a third year law school class, and I did actually leave in tears. And the tears were really, how do I get my fucking tuition back? Like, I paid this in full. This was a lot of money. It was brutal. I mean, I did actually cry my whole way back to the car. Like, I made it through the first day and just kind of like walked the 2 miles back to where I'd parked. And it took a half an hour of like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Oh my God. It was amazing.
What age
it
were
was
you
actually
this,
the best.
when this was going on?
29 or 30.
Oh, yeah. So you were like fully an adult. This wasn't like a right after undergrad thing. This was like you're an adult going back to college and crying after day. There's a movie about this.
Right. And there is a movie. It's called Legally Blonde, and I never saw it. And that was the problem. So I didn't know about law school. I didn't know about the Socratic Method. And, here I am, like, in my first class, and I realized that the law school professors don't give speeches. The way they taught was Socratic Method, meaning they call on people and the students answer the question based on the reading they'd done the night before. Well, of course, I didn't do the reading because I didn't know about the reading because I didn't know what I was doing. And so, like, and so then what happened? What's the legal question of this case? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're going around and I'm like fucking ducking, like, oh shit, if they call on me.
No.
And the other thing was I was at University of Pittsburgh, and Pitt Law was number 51 in the country, and they wanted to be top 50. So they got really aggressive. So the deal was, if you were called on
positions, guys.
Yeah.
That's how do we game this fucking system? Do we grade on a curve? What do we do here, folks? Come on, make it fair.
No, I'll tell you what they did. It was even worse. If you were called on and didn't have the answer right away, you had 3 seconds to answer a question. This is all across the board in any class. If you didn't have the answer in 3 seconds, the professor asked your name and you were marked absent from that class. If you missed 3 classes, if you missed 3 answers, or like i.e. you were absent from 3 classes, you failed the class.
Holy fuck. So they literally, if you got 3 answers wrong, you failed?
So here's the thing. You could get the answer wrong. You could interpret something, whatever. But if you were like, I don't know, because I didn't do the reading, I'm confused. Like, if you had a reasonable explanation, but if they were like, so what they would do is they'd be okay, so-and-so
did they
versus
make
such
it
and such.
to 49th?
Yeah.
It did work?
No, hold on. I thought you were going to say, did it work? Did you graduate? I fucking graduated.
It's still feeling.
No, it's University of Pittsburgh top 50 now. This fucking cruel ass method.
That's a good question. That's a good question. It was. I'll be honest with you. It was the most intense. Like, I breezed through undergrad. I have a triple major in undergrad, summa cum laude. Like, I was just a good student. Yeah.
What were the 3 majors?
But Psych, International Business, and German.
Whoa.
And then I had 2 minors.
So you were like, you basically were trained to be a Nazi. Okay.
Well, here's the problem. I did 3 years of mechanical engineering, and I couldn't deal with the responsibilities.
Bad news, Cammisa. It has not worked. It's number 76 now.
My fault.
Point, Cammisa.
Maybe it was top 100. Can you see what year it was and what number it was in?
Can we plot a chart? Can we get a line graph of the position over time?
That's hilarious.
With a Cammisa placeholder in approximately.
Jason was here.
See this
and then
dip right here?
Yeah.
Your son is right here.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Fuck that
crazy.
law school, man. But that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense for you that your arguments are fucking pretty airtight.
I try to look, at the end of the day, we are humans, right? You and I do the same thing. We review cars, but there's a personal taste thing in there. And I really do try to remove that. It doesn't matter whether I like the car or not. It matters whether the car achieves what it sets out to do or what its audience or the buyers expect it will do. And so really I see myself as a bit player, right? So I go to review, I have a Nissan Sentra SER Cammisa verdict coming up. I'm not the intended audience
still
for
make
Nissan
that?
Sentra SER.
They make the
It's a new
Sentra
one.
SER still?
No, SR.
Oh,
Not
SR.
SER.
Oh, I was going to say, like, whoa, what the fuck? Do you get anything? Is the SR anything?
It's an appearance package.
Oof.
It actually, I'll be honest,
Can't wait to
it's
hear
not a
you
bad car.
review this. Really?
It's not a bad car. It really isn't. I mean, the funny thing was I thought the last one was wretched, and I went through my notes and I'm like, actually, it's really not that bad. But the new one's way better.
What, wait, so you revisionist thought it was wretched when in the moment you were writing about it and going, actually, this is okay.
This is where
I remember the last one being
spreadsheet-
wretched for the record too, but I don't have a spreadsheet.
Right. So this is where the spreadsheet comes in handy because I was like, God, that car is terrible. And I went through my notes and it was like, and my notes were, oh, I expected this thing to be terrible, but it's actually just not bad. But the new
One of
one
my
is
favorite bits from our last show we did together was just picking random numbers from the spreadsheet. I hope you're ready to do that again.
I have the laptop.
You know what? I almost, on the
perfect.
way to work fucking this morning too, I was like, you know what? I should have brought fucking dice and like randomly got numbers from like dice. You know, that would there's probably like random number generator, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do one of those.
We have technology.
But yeah, anyway, new Sentra is 2 inches lower and 2 inches wider. And you know, in the car world, a half an inch lower or a half an inch wider is a big thing. 2 inches is massive. Yeah. So the thing no longer looks like a dorkmobile. And
that's a big difference in dimension. I mean, that's I forget. Huge. You could probably explain better than me what that actually does to the shape, like volumetrically, but visually, it would make it look way lower and way wider.
Yeah, I mean, the car showed up, and I was like, "Oh God, it's not hideous anymore." And you know, when you look at the last one, the wheels were inset too far from the body. It was just tall, narrow, and just ugly, and they fixed it. You know,
in these photos, it looks all right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So they're actually putting money in their products these days? Is that what we're saying?
They put styling in the car, and they definitely put safety features. They're really pushing like lane departure and all the sort of semi-autonomous driving stuff. Still the same CVT stuff, but new engine. It's a 1.8 or 2 liter, much bigger, much quicker than the last one. I haven't written my little verdict yet.
How much was it?
Like loaded to the gills, 26, I think it was.
Okay, yeah. Because Zach and I have been driving that Corolla XSE, which is like loaded up 25 grand.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
And it was
Pretty
also,
nice.
I think, 2 inches. The track was 2 inches wider from the predecessor.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, they're all really so strangely enough, width is very expensive for car companies because you can add length and all you really are adding is just a little bit of sheet metal in the floor pan and the frame rails. To do a wider car, you have glass that has to grow, which is very expensive and very heavy.
Windshields are very heavy, yeah, and sunroofs too, panoramic roofs maybe. Yeah.
Everything you add in width, dashboards, seats, all of that stuff gets a lot more expensive, plus a lot heavier.
That's a good point.
And then you got to re-engineer the whole car. So the fact that they put 2 inches on it.
That's a good point. That breakdown also applies to, you did a really good job with it in your BRZ video, by the way, of why the BRZ shouldn't have a turbo and how quickly you could add, it could end up being a $50,000 car.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at Supra. Supra 4-cylinder is a $50,000 car, and it weighs 800 pounds more than the BRZ.
Yeah,
and you know, to me, when I was writing that episode, the biggest point was coming up with that list of previously affordable sports coupes that are just all fucking gone. And
you read that off a cue card? You memorize that? You read that off a cue card?
I read off
a cue card. Off a cue card. It's
Yeah,
good. I was for a second, for the first half, I was like, "Wow, he's got this going," and then the second half, I was like, "Nah, there's a cue card
No way.
doing this."
I wanted to do a George Carlin-esque, litany of a list, and
actually,
I
you
didn't have
succeeded.
time.
No, you succeeded there. That it was actually quite Carlin-esque. It's very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you
but my
write the
poor camera
entire
guy
script for this and then just read it to camera?
The whole script is written before, and the reason I do that is so that I can. I'd already done the research and I'd already been in the car on the track in the passenger seat. But if you don't write every one of those transitions between the live action and the voiceover, it just never works. Yeah. So everything was sort of written, and I sort of rehearse a line while the camera guy's getting set up, and I vomit it out. But for the list, he was covered in like Post-it notes. And I had him all right around the camera, so I'm not like and a Corolla and a this and a blah, blah, blah. So it was, the poor guy was like covered.
It's a big list. It's like 40, 50 cars. When Richard Porter, who was a Sniff Petrol on Top Gear, Smith and Sniff. By the way, shout out to Johnny Smith for sending us coffee mugs for his new show. I didn't want to not thank him. We got them, Johnny. The Make America the late breaking show, Johnny Smith. He started a show and called it the Car Pervert Show and quickly realized why that's a bad name for a show. It's a great name for a Twitter handle, but a bad name for a show. Twitter handle, fabulous. Show name.
It's still his Instagram.
Yeah,
he still
Instagram,
represents,
great. But when you're on ad sales calls, it's a little difficult. So
I'm the Car Pervert. And they're like,
the late breaking show with Johnny Smith. Thanks for the coffee mugs, buddy. Wait,
where's my fucking mug, Johnny?
Oh, Richard Porter from Top Gear. I was saying he said the hardest part of writing Top Gear was what they called the links, the first and last sentences into and out of the bits into the live studio parts. That's the hardest part.
And you gotta nail them. So like the Supra episode, which is the Icons show. This is the big high production value one.
Can you explain real quick your three different shows, by the way, and then we'll talk about the Supra because you've got a lot going on the Haggerty YouTube channel this quarter.
My hair is turning gray by the second. So every Thursday is Jason Day on the Haggerty YouTube channel. I have 3 different shows. The first one, I'll go in order of like complexity and budget. The first one is Know It All, which is sort of my take on, an engineering explained, the other Jason Fensky, who's awesome. Kind of a thing. Let me take one small tech thing and make it digestible for people who are not complete nerds. So it's like one small tech piece. And they're like 5 minutes long. I sit at a desk and I say terrible things and we edit most of the really bad shit out. And then the next one up is called Revelations, Told Stories. It's Automotive Legends or something. And that is the studio show. So like on the screen now, that Renault R5 is a revelation. So I made a studio. That is kind of stand up talking
that R5.
about,
That's a very good. That's a very good film.
Yeah.
Thank you. That car is fun.
Yeah,
and
cool.
the stories, some cars have amazing stories behind them. So like this week, heads up, I'm filming Honda S800.
What?
Which is...
Oh, the S800. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is it a coupe or a convertible?
It's a convertible. And, the S360/500/800/600 was Honda's first passenger car. And, it's pretty freaking amazing. So those are stories about the car. They're not really about how the car drives and, the sort of whatever, like typical car review. And then the third show is Jason Cammisa on the Icons. And no, I did not name that. And that is, episode 1 was Supra. So that was, I think, 13 cars in 3 locations. That's the sort of like, my goal there is to be as high quality and as entertaining and informative as the best of the Top Gear stuff from back in the day. And those are also near 100% scripted. I got a bunch of Supras first. I had spent a lot of time in the M2CS and whatever. And then I spent a week in the Supra and when I was writing the script, and then got in the M2CS and I was like, which was supposed to be like a tiny little bit player in the thing. And I'm like, oh, fuck that Supra. This is the right car. And I rewrote the whole script and my director was ready to kill me.
Anyone out there drove a Supra back to back with an M2 CS, you'd come away with the same conclusion. Fuck that Supra.
Fuck that Supra. Right. It's just,
and then you'd go, oh, this M2 CS, by the way, is $95,000, Jason.
And here's the thing.
And you go, I can always suck more dicks, but I can't unfuck this.
Wow. I need to hang out with you more often. You make me sound normal. How many dicks do I have to suck for an M2? No. So here's the thing. The M2 CS is 90 grand. An M2 comp is 95% the car, and it's the same price as the Supra. So y'all can suck my dick.
Why did I not like the comp at all and like the CS so much? Is there something wrong with me?
I don't know. Look, I didn't drive the cars back to back, but as far as I can tell, there's slight suspension. There's adaptive shocks and Cup 2 tires instead of PS4. PSS's, I think, on the regular.
Did you drive them on different roads, Matt?
I drove the comp on track at Thunderhill and then the CS on the road.
That may be why. But you didn't like that comp on track?
I didn't like it that much, no.
Wow.
I didn't like it compared to the P-Cody shit we had. You know, if I
That's
drove
why.
it,
Okay,
if I
'cause it was
drove
a
it by
peak race.
itself, I probably would have been like, yeah, this is cool.
I think I remember saying, in fact, I think it got quoted in the Performance Car of the Year story that we did a disservice to the M2 because that car is good on track, but it's epic on the road. And so, you know, by testing it first on track, I understand we had to kick it out. I didn't even vote for it, but I also admitted that we didn't do that car. We didn't do right by that car. I mean, eliminating the Supra right away, yes, we made the right choice. But that M2 should have been with us on the road and would have done way better in that competition.
I think driving it on the road is the right, you know, way to. I think it was when I got beyond the traction limits, I didn't like what happened.
I love to be sideways. Go watch that Super video and you'll see I'm never not sideways in the M2, and that car is just an oversteer monster. Like on turn in, mid corner, under power, it's just always sideways, and it just so perfectly matches what I love about BMWs and like historically what I've loved about BMWs. So I think that CS is a 9.5 to 10. Doesn't much better than that. And the comp was not far behind in my book. Now I would frankly spend $35,000 and go buy an M2. Period. The one with the original S55 motor because N55 motor because it sounds better.
The original one did sound better. I liked the original M2. The original M2 ruled. I think it was cool.
Yeah. I'd take any of them, but the funny there's one of the examples where you can write a script for you know a week in advance, having spent time in all the cars, and then I quickly revised it, and that M2 wound up stealing the whole show on that Supra episode because I realized like this is a better Supra than the Supra. Supra always had a back seat. Supra always had some usability. Supra always had a manual. It had all these different things, and if you look at just make a list of what makes a Mark IV Supra. It can take 3 times factory horsepower without blowing up. Like from start to finish, the M2 is kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part that wasn't scripted was when I drove that 1,000 horsepower Mark IV, and that was the funnest in car I've ever done. I mean, I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, whose car was that? Where'd you find that one?
It was a friend of a guy that I found through another guy that I found online. I mean, it was just one of these like random things. Guy's name is Jordan Gomez. The night before, the previous guy that we had lined up bailed, like at 10 o'clock, and we were
welcome to filming tuner cars. That's my job. Yeah, that's how that goes.
It was horrible. I mean, we were like, shit. There's a whole section in the script. Like, we don't have an episode if we don't have this car. Toyota sent me a museum Mark IV, and then it had no battery, no gas, and they told me I wasn't allowed to drive it. So we were like,
here, this will help. Actually, it'll make your life worse.
And then this Jordan guy, like the guy who bailed on us, sets up like he's like, hey, my buddy Jordan's cool, and we talked to the guy, and Anthony, my director, I was chicken shit to say. It was like, can you be here at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning? Like it's like 2.5 hours from the guy's house, and he was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and he showed
some
up
people
and was
are
like
like that too. Yeah.
Dude,
we were filming
amazing.
Sorted. A guy
like,
got in his fucking car from Buffalo and drove to Florida.
Oh yeah.
His tuner car, like the race car. Like, okay. Yeah, people are.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's really tough.
Those
people
1,000
get really
horsepower
weird.
Supras, they're fucking. They're good times. They're fun.
I mean, look. Here's what I didn't say in the video, and there's nothing against Jordan. Again, this guy was the nice guy. That car off boost might have been the slowest car I've ever driven. No, not really, but it was just
from 1,000 to 4,700 RPM. You're in a golf cart, basically.
Zero. Yeah, golf carts are faster. But here's the other thing: he also had no flywheel and has some multi-plate race clutch. That is, I mean, I have race clutches on my car for cars years. I have no flywheel on two of my cars. Like I'm used to that. I have never driven a car anywhere remotely that difficult to get moving. Your choice is 5,000 RPM, anti-lag, clutch dump, or trying everything you can to not stall it and then mat it for 10 minutes. And so I have on the radio, the camera cars coming at me at full speed, and they're like, come on, go, 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 go. And I'm...
Jason is describing a work day for Matt Farah. This is you had a day at the office with Matt Farah. That's what my job is like every day. And then the viewer goes, you just don't know how to drive. It's your fault. You don't know how to drive. Someone built a car that does one thing this narrow and normal drivers can't learn it in 2 seconds without seemingly abusing the shit out of the car.
But here's the thing. I have driven race cars with literal zero flywheel, and we've taken bets on how many times I would install it. This car was nightmarish. And now Jordan, who's used to it, to your point, right, had no problem. Yeah. But he's also not starting out up a hill where you got to go chase a camera car, and they're on the radio like, come in 3, 2. Well, I'd start like on T-5 to get the thing moving. And then the other thing was, the first time I went for the brakes, they worked, and then the pedal went to the floor, and then the pads were on fire, and so I had to go fly right by the camera car. Yeah, right by the camera car. And Anthony, the director, said, "Where the fuck are you going?" And I'm like, Now, Jordan's got a radio. I didn't want him to hear this because I didn't want him to say abort, 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 like we're in the middle of filming. So I'm like, I'm just cooling down the brakes. Meanwhile, like the car was nearing meltdown. It was the laughter and the in that video you see, I was hysterical. I couldn't deliver a line. I just couldn't stop laughing. What a riot that car is.
Dude, we had a Supra on Sorted. We got Tanner Faust to say fuckity fuck fuck. That thing, we had this Supra built by this quiet, chill dude, super mellow, just toss you the keys, get in the car and go. Shift it at 10. I'm sorry, what? It goes to 10, you shift at 10. And I said, no, I'm not shifting at 10. I said, no, I'm not doing that in your car. And then he pulls up a YouTube video on his phone of the tach, and he goes, watch. And it's like a third, and the fucking thing goes, past 7, 8, 9 to where 10 would be. And that's where he shifts. And he goes, that's where you shift. And I'm like, when it's pointed at the odometer? Like, okay. And so I went out. Oh, my God. Well, dude, I mean, this thing blew the tires off 4th gear at 120 miles an hour at 10. Here's the car. I shit you not, dude, 10,000 RPM. And
holy shit.
Tanner, I drove it in the street. I was, like you're saying, the laughter was absolutely uncontrollable. And then Tanner drove it on, 3rd gear, burnout all the way to 10. 4th gear, burnout all the way to 10. 5th gear, still another burnout at like 100. Tanner went out on the track. And you ever been to PBIR, Palm Beach International Raceway?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's got a really long back straight. Mm-hmm. And Tanner goes out, it does a lap, and he comes back in, he goes, I think I smoked the clutch or something, because it's just zinging up. And I go, I don't know. And he goes, let me cool it down. He drives around, and the back, he radios, and he goes, there's skid marks a half a mile long down the back straight. He did a 4th gear burnout the entire way down the back straight. It was extraordinary. God. Absolutely extraordinary. And it worked, and the car just worked. It was amazing.
Yeah. Not for me. Like, that's not the type of car that I want. However, props to that thing. I mean,
you're glad it exists.
I'm glad that people are stupid enough to build them to that spec and whatever. And it's all in the sake of comedy, and I think it's wonderful.
And that car seemed pretty tough too. I mean, it really took some. It was in the heat. It was being driven by 4 different people that had never driven it before. I mean, it was good. That thing was sweet.
I've never seen anything like it. This Jordan guy that had this car was like, dude, you're not going to kill it. Like, don't be nice to it. And I'm like, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to shift, smoothly. He's like, don't. Just fucking drifted around everything. The only thing that broke was the traction control. Didn't work. And ABS. And there was no warning light.
Zach has the clip. Wait, check this out. Zach has the clip of me doing a poll in the Supra from Instagram.
Tanner.
Oh, it's Tanner? This was, I think, from the 60 to 150 test. Can you hear this, Jason? Tanner goes, it's just smoked to 120 miles an hour.
20 miles.
And then he goes back and realizes, that he's literally just doing burnouts the entire way down the circuit.
He's just counter steering while going straight.
He's he had a good time.
Nuts.
We got to get you into the Calvo Viper too, which I keep talking about because it was 2,000 horsepower, and we measured a 60 to 150. Dude, 60 to 150, 5.05 seconds.
I don't even know how to process that.
The 918 Spider,
Yeah.
which we compared it to, did it in like 9 and change. It was like 4 seconds fast. It was the shit.
I got to be honest. I really have no. I mean, I saw one of the clips from the show on that. And by the way, I think we both have corona. And
I have a weed
Jesus
cough,
Christ.
I think, and combined with paranoia, which makes me convinced I have COVID. But I'm
Ding,
pretty sure
ding.
it's a weed cough.
The COVID paranoid cough.
Right.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I'll be genuine about this. I have no desire to drive anything that fast.
That's bullshit.
I mean, I'll do it.
That's bullshit.
No, I
You'd
mean,
love
I'll do
to
it.
have a go in
Bullshit.
something like that.
On a
As long as you
runway.
got the room.
Yeah.
How would you
I mean,
not
but
like to
just-
have a go in something like that? I mean, just it's a drag car. It's a crazy drag car.
Fair
That's all.
Yeah, fair enough.
You would.
I mean,
you definitely
I
want to have
much-
a go in that.
Personally, I prefer cars that are a lot of experience with not a lot of speed, because then when you have an incident, it happens at a much lower rate of speed.
Right. I'm not. Yeah. I'm just saying once. You just want to have a go once.
Yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll try it. I mean, I drove an SSC Aero Ultimate. And that was, I think, 1,1600 horsepower and rear drive, and cold tires in Monterey. And I remember being at 1,200 RPM in fourth gear, and it's got like a pedal travel that's like 2 feet long. And
You can always tell when the car's real small batch,
It's open in
because
the
stuff
back.
like that slips through the cracks.
yeah. Well, no, they did that on purpose so you can meter the power out. No, that was 100% on purpose. And I'm like squeezing, and I'm like, this is all good. This is all good. And like at 2,400 RPM, which was like, I feel like 100 miles an hour, the turbo spooled. And I remember pulling back like 3 inches of throttle travel and then doing like 150-foot long, 100-mile-an-hour fourth gear power slide down the Highway 1. Like, I was like, fuck this. Fuck this shit. Never again. I'm not going to wind up in the Pacific Ocean. And then, you giggle after. He's like, okay, I'll do it again. But yeah.
I'll say this: that particular Viper, because it's an ACR, and because they do a good job with tires, it goes straight. When you point it straight and mat it, it actually goes and stays straight. Unlike this, a wingless Supra, which is like, oh yeah, all right, let me just sail this jelly bean down the road with 1,000 horsepower.
My God.
What else did you really enjoy about filming other episodes of your show besides Supras?
So actually, you and I, the last time I was on the podcast, we had both just driven all of those Porsche GT2 and GT3 and 911R cars.
That was nice.
My video finally goes live next Thursday. We held it so that it would coincide with the release of the 992 GT3, which I think happens on Tuesday. That was a day. That was a really good day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So have you talked those cars to death already, or
I have, but you haven't done our show, so let's hear it. What do you want to say?
It was an interesting thing for me because I owned a 996 first of all. I had driven 997 GT3s a lot. I spent a ton of time in 911R, thank God, because that's amazing. But I have never driven any GT2. And you know that I hate turbos and I hate automatics. So I thought I was going to hate both the 996 GT2, 997 GT2 that was there, and I thought I was really going to hate the GT2 RS, the new one. They were magic in every way. Every one of those cars was unbelievable. But if I could have that 997 GT3 RS 4 liter.
Yeah, the 4 liter is really the fucking shit.
So there were a bunch of people that were bitching on the internet, like on Instagram, at me and you, because I think we disagreed about which of the cars was the best. And I said GT3 RS 4 liter is the most special and whatever. But actually, if I were driving it on a daily basis, regularly, I would have a 911R.
I said exactly
because it was
the
my
same thing.
very close second.
I think it's the same
annoying
thing.
is
I
that?
think it was
Right.
Johnny who said different. Johnny was diehard 4 liter,
Fucking
4 liter
shocker.
or bust. Yeah. No, I think the
I'm not gonna
911R
start on
is
that
just friendlier enough that I actually would enjoy using it every single day and not just taking it out once a week.
I would probably actually choose a GT3 Touring over a 911R, and here's why. What drives me nuts about that 911R is that the Redline's at 9,000, but the Linder's at 8,500. And that is just not acceptable to me. It's just not so annoying. You're like, I want to hit Redline. And you're, fuck you.
That's very
at
funny.
Least the
Whereas
GT3
the touring is actually goes to 9. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair. I have a client here who basically daily drives his 911R, and it rules. He's
That's
very
so cool.
Yeah, like when he leaves his other car here, and then he leaves the 911R when he takes out his other car. It's pretty awesome, actually.
That car. I'm always making fun of 911 assholes. Like, fucking boring Porsche 911. Those cars were all incredible, and I mean that 911R is. Two of the last things I did before I left Motor Trend was 911R video and a Aston V12 Vantage S 7-speed manual, the dogleg car.
Oh yeah,
and I actually kind of offered that car is amazing, and I wanted to buy both of them, and people continually ask me still because we drove them within a month of each other, which one, and I actually am still dreaming about the Aston and not the 911R until I just drove the 911R again. But
I would take 911R over that Aston. The 7-speed first dogleg thing I didn't love.
You have a dogleg car, isn't your Ferrari dogleg?
Yes, I have a dog like a Lamborghini is as well, but I see dogleg 5 speeds as different than the dogleg 7-speed. The dogleg 5-speed to me works better. Just like the spacing of the shifter and like what happens in my brain when I'm operating it. I just remember it being different in a way I didn't really like.
There are so many gates. I mean, so you have
there are many
reverse
gates.
First, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it's a lot of gates. I feel like it's one of the. I put a ton of miles on those cars, and I got used to it.
I'm sure you get used to it. Hey, I'm sorry, we're not live, but let me pick up the shop phone real quick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's completely all right. I'm not going to make fun of you. Tell your people hi. Have your people call my people.
Grab the rotary phone. Why do you have 3 phones?
This dude wants his car at 11. Anyway, I'm in fundamental agreement with you. 911R is the one I would actually like to use the most, and therefore would like to have the most, as opposed to the most special, which is the 4-liter.
Yeah. Okay. We're totally agreement.
We are in agreement.
We're right. Good. That's easy. What a fucking
by
day.
agreement.
I mean,
by agreement, you mean right by 2/3 majority? Because that's how I'm seeing this.
You're talking about Johnny.
Johnny's the third.
I'm sorry, but Johnny just recently said to someone on Instagram that he, I don't agree with Jason on what time of day it is, and I think he's completely right. I mean, for once, I actually agree with him. We could argue about what color the sky is.
That's
so
funny.
It's no fucking surprise that Johnny just got it wrong, because he always does.
I keep this sitting on this side of the table. We put an outlet over here, and I keep kicking it on this side of the table. I normally sit on the other side of the table. But
this is where you need to take the hat off, so we know when your hair goes.
Oh yes, what I'm doing right now is hiding a Jufro, not hiding a bald spot. Yeah, that's very.
That's what I did for January.
I can't. You know what? I don't remember the last time I saw you without a hat on. I forgot.
Really,
sorry, but I'm sure you peach fuzz
all that often. But it's I'm trying. I have 2 choices. Either I can go with hats, or 3 choices. I can go with hats. I can shave more than I do, or I can just be the guy who's bald with a big beard.
No, you have another choice. You could put a rug. To be really fucking funny.
Maury's wigs.
Some terrible toupee.
Oh my God. I thought about, we got approached by one of those like beard dye companies, like make my beard nice and black like it was in 2009. And, I'd have to like use the product to do it.
No.
They didn't like the number I quoted them.
Yeah.
I wasn't really trying to. It would be so weird, wouldn't it, to dye the
We see
beard?
dudes in LA that they'll either dye their hair but not their beard.
Yeah.
And then they grow the beard out, or they flip it, and you're like, you're showing your cards right now.
I mean, it's funny when celebrities do it and people just don't really notice, or they forget after a little while. Like they notice for like a day and they're like, all right, well, I guess his hair's just black again. Okay. Won't say anything about that.
Magic.
I guess.
I in a burst of courage, I just bought purple hair dye, and I'm like, that's it. I'm doing my hair dark purple, and I have chickened out every single time I've gone to the bathroom. I'm like, I'm gonna dye my hair purple. I can't do that. I'm just
My
not
wife
that
just
cool.
gave up her purple hair. In terms of the Legends, what else do you have lined up? Because the Legends is really where my love is. The homologation cars. Which one? Icons? Which one? Revelations?
Icons is the big show.
Can't keep the name straight. I'm sorry.
Well, it's all right. It's
the one with the
so
Renault
Icons
R5.
is the big show. Right, that's Legend. So we have first episode was Renault R5.
Yeah.
Second episode is Subaru Burrs. Third episode coming up is the greatest hits of Andy Peroni Europe. That's this coming Thursday. The one after that will be Honda S800. I had a Lamborghini LMO2 lined up, but the owner didn't finish it in time, so I'll do that one probably in a month. I'd love to hear what people want to hear. Go on Instagram and tell me what you want to.
The LM will be fun. That's a crazy story.
Be great.
I don't know. Has anyone? I'm sure someone.
I told it in
recently
print.
Told the story?
No, I told in print 10 years ago, and it's just the most batshit story of Lamborghini stealing what ultimately wound up being BMW's money to do a project for the U.S. Army. So the M1, this is the problem, is I want to tell the M1 story together with the LM story because they're kind of intertwined. What a clusterfuck that was.
Two tough cars to get a hold of on the same day in the same place, frankly.
Yeah. Plus, the LM is so big that it'll fill the whole studio. There won't be any room for an M1.
I was down in Miami, I don't know, a few months ago, and they had one at Curated, and I was just poking around it. It had been such a long time since I'd really poked around one. They are very silly vehicles. I mean, nothing about them shits make any sense at all. They're so strange. Yeah, that was that one.
It's my favorite Lamborghini. Here, that's the white one. I had a friend that went and looked at that. Actually, a friend that did a PPI for another friend on that car. Here's my dissertation on the Urus. Fuck that shit. That is a brand engineered badge job Cadillac Cimarron of an Audi RSQ8. That is a gross misinterpretation of what Lamborghini as a brand means. That's a very German logical interpretation. But to me, Lamborghini means outrageous and silly and fun. And that is how you make a fucking Lamborghini truck. You make the dumbest off-road vehicle in the world with a 4-cam, 6-carburetor V12 that will overheat and blow up immediately with a dog-like 5-speed. That thing is amazing in every way. Exactly.
Especially because I think it's weird. And I enjoy driving the Urus, just objectively for what it is. It's fast and it's nice daily driver car, right? And people will think what they think about how it looks. But I feel kind of the same way, not as angrily. I understand what they're doing a little more, but I was a little insulted when at the press launch they very literally tried to draw lines between. They put one and the other and literally drew lines from one to the other.
Between an LM and a Urus?
Yeah, and it was with certain really bizarre features, like they both have a little black triangle behind the wheel arch. That's the character trait you brought.
That's what makes a Lamborghini a Lamborghini. It's a triangle.
It was pretty embarrassing, honestly. If they were really doing it, they would have basically built a Jeep Wrangler and put an Aventador engine in it. That's really what the Urus would have been.
Listen, I would be far less critical of the Urus if it had a V12 in it, or even the V10.
Yeah.
But just to take an off-the-shelf platform and an off-the-shelf motor and an off-the-shelf everything, and at least the Bentley version, the Bentayga, has its own the 12 that you can't get in anything else.
True.
Right. Also a cynical marketing exercise as far as I'm concerned, but at least it gets a bespoke engine.
Good point.
Not okay with
if you got the 10, the 10 would even make it, I think. But I think the problem is the 10 might not. I bet you, Cammisa, that somewhere in not Sant'Agata in Germany, there's a prototype kicking around that has a V10 in it.
Yeah.
And they drove it a bunch, and they determined that it does not make enough torque for such a heavy vehicle, and that the 8 is actually going to satisfy the customers. I bet you that prototype exists somewhere.
Yeah, they probably raced it against a Q8.
Here's the thing: is I would love to think that it did. But remember that that whole platform is an Audi platform with the engine hanging completely over the front wheels.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the V10 shares the characteristics, the mounting characteristics where it would even work. But you're right. I mean, there's no question they would have evaluated the V10 and probably the V12, and it would have taken the 12 to move that boat properly. But I don't think it would be faster than the V8 is.
No,
I mean, that
probably
V8's
not.
a monster.
Yeah, it is.
But,
No, the thing is fucking fast. Don't get me wrong. Like, it moves. Like, and I think it has the torque where you want it for a very heavy car. Some YouTuber, some enterprising YouTuber will find a crashed Urus and a V12 and put them together, and it'll take 7 years, and it will only work on television. But
Freddie will turn 50, and he'll be like, "I did
But it will be amazing.
But it'll
it will be
exist.
amazing. That's what that car should have had. That should have had the V12 in it, and or whatever. But that LM, I mean, they made 301 of them. That's it. It's so rare. It was one of the coolest
even
cars
less
I've ever
than
driven.
I thought. I would have guessed it was at least 500 or 600. I guess that's even rarer than I thought.
I mean, I hope my memory is right. Memory serves, it was 301.
Wow.
If you, I'll look while we're talking, but it's, just incredibly rare. It's one of those cars that, like, in car drivers testing, I feel like it did 0 to 60 in 7.7 back in the day. But I remember driving it through traffic in Santa Agatha. And there were two things I remember. Number one is that the left tires were over the center line and the right tire was over the right line. It was actually wider than the lane was.
Whoa.
And then I had the museum curator in the car with me, and I was matted 7,000 RPM shift after shift after shift. And I was barely keeping up with the diesel 1 liter, shit boxes in front of me. And he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Italian. And he was going on about, like, okay, freni. I'm like, okay, brakes. Yeah. Piccolo. And I'm like, okay, so it's got small brakes. He was like, 200 kilometers, so like 200 kilometers an hour. I'm like, yeah, car's top speed was 200. And he was like, I freni, a fire. What he was saying was, you tried to stop the thing from its top speed, you would die in a fire because the brakes would incinerate themselves. It was such a cool experience.
I know one word in English, and it's by far the most important one.
A fire.
Production numbers, according to Google, were 328.
328?
328.
Is Cammisa actually wrong about something?
That sounds like...
Fuck out of here.
I mean,
no,
this is
look at...
first glance.
Hold on, Zach.
No, here, wait, no, right there. Right there.
And
And it says production between 301 and 328.
Oh, well, this is LamboCars.com says now it's estimated between these. I'm sure, I mean, if you're talking to Lamborghini, I would trust their numbers, of course.
Automobile would have been faster.
What was that?
Say again?
Sorry.
You broke up.
Oh, sorry. The article the production number in the Automobile Collectible Classic I did would have been fact-checked, which meant we would have contacted Lamborghini for an official number, and I'm pretty sure that was 301.
Which I did find just now on automobile.com, mag.com, that says 301.
See? Ha! Yes!
Your story?
How many gallons of fuel did it have?
2009?
Yeah.
How many?
Weight 6,780 pounds, dude.
76
gallons of fuel. I mean, that's a lot, but my Countach holds 30. And it's very small.
Yeah, well, it needs to, right?
30?
My Countach has two 15-gallon fuel tanks connected by a crossover pipe.
Wow.
Because they wanted it to, because it got, obviously horrible fuel economy, but I'm pretty sure Lambo at the time really wanted it to have like a 300-mile highway range, or maybe it was 500-kilometer highway range, and you needed the 30. Yeah. The gas, the fuel
look,
gauge
even my
is pretty
Ferrari, which
worthless,
is little. Well, it's Italian, but even my Ferrari's got a 20-gallon tank, which is outrageous. But it needs
in the Lambo, the fuel sender's only in one of the tanks. So when you fill it, you have to it's got to like self-level, and then you got to wait. And now, okay, where is it now? So you can't ever actually tell when it's full.
You have
no idea when it's full.
Can you park it on like a chalk block or something when you pull in to get
No, it's very
gas?
weird. It's fucking strange.
It should actually even out between the two tanks, but then we're talking Italian engineering from the 1970s.
Right. Yeah. But it does, and then it doesn't. Yeah. Any other things in the recent repertoire that have recently blown away your analytical mind?
Cars? You mean like new cars that I've driven recently? Let me think.
Yeah, I mean like anything.
I had a Stingray. It took me a year and a bit to get into a Corvette after GM's temper tantrum over my Performance Car of the Year article, where I said the car was good but not great. I stand by my
What a
words.
horrible
That
insult.
is,
It's a terrible insult. You can never
hell,
get
that's
over
the
that.
fucking PR lunatic. Yeah, I agree. That car is good. It's not great, but it's good. I had a Defender that I thought was great.
We thought the Defender was great too. Yeah, we like that.
And you want to talk about appeal? Like that's such talk about a disingenuous marketing exercise. Let's put styling of like, the old Defender on this thoroughly modern car that is nothing to do with a Defender and nail it. They nailed it. I want one. Oh,
yeah, I looked into getting a shorty for my wife for a daily runabout. Mm-hmm. But we determined that having 2 doors but 4 seats was kind of annoying.
Yeah, just get the long one. I mean, the
long one's a little long, actually. A little big car. Yeah. Big car.
It is a big car. Yeah. But you're a homeowner now. You're going to need to do Home Depot runs. You're going to need, you're going to need a space.
That's what I have a roof rack on the Safari for. No, actually, I'll tell you what. You know what? We haven't committed anything financially to it yet, but I have my name on I forget what the name of the silver is. It's like iridium silver or something. Mach-E premium rear-wheel drive long range.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
We really liked it. We had it for a week, and I was like, this thing is kind of the shit, actually. And
so I have been yelled at by everyone on Instagram because I posted a couple of pictures of the Mach-E that I had to test. And I have not posted the Cammisa verdict, and it's been like 6 weeks, and everyone's calling me out on it. And the reality is I'm battling internal dissonance because I don't want to, piss off Ford to the point where they cut my loan from the next one.
Oh, wow. You hated it that much, huh?
No, it's not that I hated it. You never know with PR people. They can be like, well, we don't like your attitude. I'm just kind of not saying a word. I liked it though. The other thing is I also don't want to give the whole story away before I go and film a huge episode on this car. Mm-hmm. Mine was a pre-pro car, and I have rarely driven pre-pro cars with this many bugs, software bugs.
Oh,
there are
really?
a lot of problems. Yeah.
Oh.
But
interesting. Totally possible. Car. That's a thing that could happen for sure.
Yeah, totally. It was all this one, like the display, I could make it from my house to the bottom of my street, which is like a quarter mile before the infotainment would even boot. You could hit a button and sometimes you'd have to wait 10 seconds before it would respond. It kept forgetting all my settings. It kept deleting shit. It was like the internal like onboard Waze crashed, and then it wouldn't let me do anything. I had to reboot the car. I mean, it was just a lot of like
that sounds bad.
Glitches.
That sounds
right,
bad.
But those are pre-production shit. Like I can forgive that. The car as a whole, though, I think is a really neat exercise.
For what it's worth, our car didn't have any of those issues.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Ours was 093 or 091, the VIN number. It was also pre-pro.
Mine was 66. Yeah. 36. Mine was 36. So
that's pretty low. Yeah.
It was. I forgive those because I know they're never going to deliver a car like this to customers. Like I know that. So I'm not even going to talk about that in the review. But what a fascinating idea to put a Mustang name on that car. I think that was a genius move.
I think it ultimately will prove to be a genius move. I'm going to get one despite the horse and despite the name, not because of it. I could give a shit, the unbridled mode is pretty lame too. That's pretty lame. But no, I mean, the only problem we had with ours was with the phone as a key feature, which is something I fucking hate in everything that you can use it in.
You broke up for a second. I didn't hear the what feature?
Phone as a key, using your iPhone as the key, which is something I would never do in my real life. But I did it for a week because I wanted to test the feature, and it wasn't great. But you get a regular fob, and I would just use the regular fob, and that would solve that. Other than that, we had a great experience for a week. I put 250 plus miles on it on a charge without even trying at all, and it goes pretty fast, and it has a nice chassis, and it's got room and shit. I like it, and so we got it. Did you get the color? The color was cool.
Iconic silver.
Iconic silver. It looks good in silver. It's like that liquid metal kind of thing. They did a nice job with the paint.
How come you're not waiting for the GT Performance? Out of curiosity.
Because that's something I want and not something that we as a family need. It would make zero difference to us in our daily lives to spend the extra $150 a month on the GT. I really look forward to driving it. I bet it's awesome. But we were totally satisfied with the speed, power, and handling of the premium model for everyday shit.
Fair enough. And I would be too. The only thing I'd want, honestly, is better seats. I'm not one of these people who are like bitch about seats because everyone fits differently. And so it doesn't matter what I think. But I just thought, I don't remember ever being that uncomfortable and having that little lateral support. And I just didn't like the seats at all. But the rest of the car.
Did you have a premium? What version were you driving?
It was a premium. Hold on, let me.
Because both Zach and I have bad backs, and we didn't find that to be the. I mean, obviously, different shaped people, but like, I'm fat, he's skinny, but like, we're both tall.
I remember the seat cushion having no lateral support. So when you sit on it, your legs push it down, and there's no lateral support. And so one of the roads on my Tesla Loop is a really tight, twisty, bumpy, heavy, like crazy back road that really just separates the men from the boys, suspension tuning wise. The car's brilliant. But I don't think I've ever flown out of my seat like that before.
Well, okay.
I mean, and that's out of the traditional use case.
Yeah, and I don't really give a shit about the lateral support. This is a errand running and highway car. It's not a go to the canyons and be held in place car. It just needs to be not horrible up there to get a pass in that department. Right.
And that's a function of also where I live. I mean, just that road happens to be the road to my best friend's place where I go for dinner 3 nights a week. And it's, quarter mile from my house. I go to the bottom of my street and I'm on what I consider to be one of the most brutal twisty turny roads. So, that's the reason I put a rear sway bar, the 034 Motorsport sway bar on the back of the e-Golf, and I have Pilot Sport 4S's on it. And no range, but god damn does that car turn now.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, look, we live in a grid, and it's a bumpy, shitty grid. And when you leave that grid, it's on a highway. And so, it doesn't need to satisfy sports car functions.
I don't fault your decision at all. I thought the car was really good. I think I would probably choose a Tesla Model Y over it on balance if I were really buying one personally. But I think that's just because, although I don't know, the steering on that Mustang was really good.
The steering was good.
There's a lot about it that just makes it a pleasant car to just knock around with.
I thought the interior was nicer than the 3 Teslas I've driven.
I thought that it was nicer than any Tesla
design,
as well.
All of that stuff, yeah.
It's less stark, and it's got a screen in front of you. What a fucking concept, Elon goddamn Musk.
Well,
come on.
Well, apparently the refreshed Model S interior. Did you see the refreshed Model S interior? They leaked this thing with a fucking Cessna tiller on it. Like, please, okay, you're gonna sell a car with a Cessna tiller. And then they had the other image which just has a regular steering wheel. And when you put the regular steering wheel back on it, what they've done is built a Mach-E interior. The new Model S has copied the Mach-E's dashboard and center console basically layout.
Yep.
Yeah.
That interior is great.
You know what? I did this. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I did a range test. 4 hours at highway speeds, and I got out of the car afterwards. Back was feeling okay. It was good. Yeah, it was cool. I was about it. So,
cool. Glad you like it.
Another, it's going to be because, we've got that Delica, which is amazing, the Mitsubishi Delica van, and my wife got hit in it. Someone crashed. She's fine, but, it's going to take a while to get fixed. It's a pain in the ass to get JDM parts. And if you saw the damage, you'd estimate that she got hit at probably 20, 25 miles an hour, and she got hit at about 8. And it really makes you think. It makes you think like, life should probably be daily in car with at least one airbag and where you're not actually in front of the front tires.
Well, but even with a modern car, you see accidents, the things seem to shatter a lot more because that's what the crumple zones do, and they absorb all the energy, right? So sometimes a mild accident can look like an extreme accident.
That's in a modern car. In this generation of car, a mild accident should really look like a mild accident.
It shouldn't crumple. All right.
Yeah. So it's just, and she really likes it. She drove Mach-E and she really had enjoyed it. So
good.
That's important.
Yeah. And look, there's a reason I have an e-Golf. Once you live, first of all, that's for safety reasons, right? That's the right size for the roads where I live, and that's the right size for the way I drive and all the rest of the stuff. But I need a modern car to drive like an asshole through San Francisco in, because a small collision in a modern car would kill me in my 2,300 pound Volkswagen or my 1,900 pound Lotus. I mean, those are scary shit.
Yeah.
But once you drive an electric car every day, like I tell people this all the time, they get so mad. Fucking electric cars, whatever. Once you deal with one, you can't live without it.
No, I know. I love a fucking EV, and I loved my Volt. My Volt was the least interesting car I've ever owned. From the audience's perspective, from my perspective, it was probably the best car I've ever owned. It was amazing, and I think I love EVs. I'm pro EVs as just someone who likes cars. It really makes a lot of sense in the city, and I got good chargers here too. I got the good shit. Hey, you were right about my Ferrari exhaust leak, by the way. There was one.
There was one. Okay.
You heard it. You detected it, and you were right. No, it's fine. It was there. It was fixed. It's good.
And it's all back. I've been watching the story unfold. It's back, and you're driving it, and it's better than ever.
Oh, it's good now. Yeah, no, it's good. Costs a little bit of money. Good to go for the next, long time. Yeah.
Cool.
And there was none of that. You talked about, I forget if we had this discussion on the podcast or after it, but you talked about one of the risks of having bad injectors in a Bosch CIS system is that if fuel leaks into the cylinders when the engine is off, then it will eat through the oil and the piston rings will score the cylinder walls. Donnie told me, I addressed that concern with Donnie, and he said, a very smart person told you that. But the 328, he said, but they must have an older car, because the 328 has different cylinder linings that are stronger than the older car's engines. Right. And that becomes less of a problem in the 328 unless you really, really let that issue go on for a very long time.
Right. I mean, that's the sort of, even on you can take a modern car, you can take a Prius. If you have the injector firing and no spark, you will cut the oil. And at some point, the oil level will start to rise and rise and rise in the crankcase because you're filling it up with gas. But in that cylinder, as you're driving, gasoline is a solvent, and it will cut through the oil and will accelerate wear. Will it kill the engine? No way. Definitely don't want to have happen with fuel, no spark. Right. It will wear your engine quickly, and it can, you can hydrolock that cylinder. There's a number of other shit that can happen, but either way, more importantly, it's fixed, it's done.
Yeah, we rebuilt the entire ignition system, the entire coolant system, and the entire injection system. And so now it is running factory fresh.
Nice. And so I just saw that post. You drove a carbed 308.
I didn't drive it. It's my buddy's car, and we went for a drive together. So any observations I made about the car were from my own. But
from his, okay.
I'd like to drive it.
Yeah, I was curious to see what you
if I wanted. Yeah.
Okay. Curious to see what you say about 308 afterwards. I've only ever driven. The only 308 was a Quattrovalvole, which is injected.
This car, this was a 77, and it was carbed, and it had like a really rowdy exhaust on it as well. It shot fire when he shifted, which was pretty cool. And it was really rowdy sounding. My car is very smooth and refined sounding and even. And this thing had hotter cams, with the exhaust and then the sound of the carburetors. It really sounded like rowdy. And so if I wanted like a weekend car, like once in a while car, I'd probably want a setup kind of like that. For every day, mine is much more manageable. Yeah. This thing was shooting crazy fire, dude. It was a lot of fire. Oh my God,
you need to do a video on that car. I want to see this.
I know, it was cool. It was cool. He drives it a lot too. This dude, he was dailying it for a while, and he started to wear out shit that like most people don't wear out ever. Like someone like his Ferrari guy was like, do you know the last time somebody wore out a pop-up headlight motor? You know, because I guess no one drives their 308s at night or 328s at night. So this dude's driving, you know, the power door lock motors, like just random parts that like never get used when people treat the cars like classic cars. Yeah. He's breaking them and there's like no replacement parts exist. And they're like, you have to stop dailying this thing, dude. We're going to run out of parts.
That's amazing.
He's a good sport.
That's
though.
awesome.
It's good. Yeah, he's good. It's
cool.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to be
you
like
following,
that.
You following Mike at Stanceworks K-swapping his 308?
Casually.
Have you seen this?
I haven't seen the videos. I've seen it on Instagram. It's not what I do, but it makes sense for him, right? You
might change your mind if you've driven an injected 308.
I have driven an injected 308. They're slow, but like, but I'd rather just take off the CIS injection and find some carburetors, and if that was what I wanted to do. Yeah. Like I've driven cars that didn't come with K engines and that had K engines put into them, and so I know what like the vibration frequency is of a Honda K engine. You know what I mean? And even though a 308 is slow as balls, injected car, like I don't know if I want to feel like I've turned a Ferrari into a mid-engined Honda, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I would, if, of course we have smog to deal with, but without that being an issue, I would rip that injection off, put, intake exhaust cams and then high compression pistons and turn it back into the engine that it started out with, which is the one that's in my car.
Like if you took while you've got this engine out, you could build it on a stand and then put it back in. I'd go I'd get like a Norwood kit or something. Like that homie Aaron down at ATS Racing down in Texas, he likes to modify the 80s cars and shit. And he got a Norwood turbo set up on a 308 that made like 500 horsepower, felt like an F40. I drove it. It was awesome. It was really cool.
Really?
No, I swear to God, it was really cool. Yeah.
I can't imagine the repair bills on that. Jesus Christ.
Oh, he owns the shop, so I don't think it's I don't think it's a thing for him. But yeah, there it is. Look at this. Wait, scroll down. Look at this. Look at this. It's beautiful. It's a fucking stunner, this car.
Oh,
I mean,
gorgeous.
it's a really, really nice car. And he put these like I don't know if they're 18s. I think they might be 16 or 17s, so he could put some decent brakes. I think he's got the brakes from maybe a 348 or something like that. Some other kind of brakes on there. But I mean, I swear, Cammisa, this thing was actually fun to drive. Like it was a good time.
I'll believe you there, and it's gorgeous. Man.
The color, it's like this so very light sky blue, and then the bottom half is painted black like a Berlinetta Boxer. And I'm not sure, Jason, have you ever seen a nose like this before? It's like a Euro nose, but with a cut lower valance for like more flow, because it's got an air-to-water intercooler in the front, I think.
That's not factory from what I know, but it looks great.
It looks awesome.
That angle,
yes, Aaron at ATS Racing owns that car, and Bob Norwood did the turbo kit. You probably heard of that guy. We should do a fucking Haggerty show on Norwood.
Heard of him.
Norwood turbocharges Ferraris.
You know me though. I don't do
so anti-turbo. After driving that Supra that you loved. Okay, you like the response?
It responds. The thing is, by the time that Supra, if I drag race that Supra in at a red light, but that thing got lagged, my stupid Scirocco would be waiting at the next stoplight already.
Well, what about like Ferraris and McLarens? I mean, they're kind of bringing that boost level down and down and down, and more and more response. So, do you like that improvement, or do you still hate it?
No, on balance, what would you rather drive? A 355, 360 manual, or some stupid 488 DCT turbo blah snooze machine that is fast as fuck but doesn't sound good?
I'm with you. I am. But I also can see the joy in a 308 that has tuner car turbo sounds on top of the Ferrari. I mean, you're talking about the engine that
awesome.
It's the you get both.
Right.
You get both.
It's a different flavor. Like when we drove that Mini Cooper. That was supercharged. I mean, and that thing had different sounds, and it was a different experience than if it was like a really built, NA motor. And it had its own joys to it, and in addition to the crazy torque and horsepower. Yeah,
and I drove that I drove a twin turbo 348 built by Steve Maxwell, which I'm not saying I want to own that, but for a day, a 348 Challenge with an open exhaust and fire and then turbo spool, you know, because turbos are really well mated to how Ferraris rev already, right? You're always above $3,000 anyway.
True.
So as long as the
That is
turbos
true.
aren't like enormous, you can keep that thing in boost pretty good. Look at this fucking thing.
Fair enough.
Pull up the picture so Jason can see the engine bay, because the engine bay was crazy. I drove this thing.
I have never driven a 348.
They're
I need
pretty
to drive
good.
one.
They're fun. Now that it's not, you know, it's been a long time that no one gives a shit how it compares exactly to other cars of its era. It's just a classic
Right.
car in isolation. It can be viewed in a much more positive light.
Oh, here's the engine.
Huh.
Look at this engine bay,
Oh, yeah.
Jason. This is fucking the shit. That
That's
looks like it came
beautiful.
from the factory almost, doesn't it?
It does.
It's super
Yeah.
cool. 700 horsepower he got out of that 3.4 liter.
Jesus.
That thing was ripping.
That was a fun day.
It sold for like $120K. I should have bought it. I should have found
Yeah,
a way to
really.
get the money and buy that fucking car, because it's a real challenge as well. It was a real 348 challenge with the speed lines and the right seats and the whole deal. Yeah, it was cool.
And the harnesses and the whole thing. Very
The
cool.
whole shit, yeah. And that guy Steve Maxwell's a crazy fucker down in San Diego. There it is.
You should be kicking yourself for not buying
600
that.
horsepower, I know, right? I really should
Whatever
have
at that
fucking bought
point.
it.
That
It seemed like
600,
so much
700
money at the
million.
time. Now this is like, oh god damn it, really? Could have had that?
Yeah.
Ah, it's so pretty.
It is pretty.
Yeah, man. What else? What's the news in the personal garage? Anything worth noting in the
It's
Cammisa
been
collection right now?
quiet. It's been quiet. I barely drive the cars because I barely go anywhere.
Too fucking busy. Yeah.
It's too busy and too busy, too locked down. You know, we're in the home stretch here. Let's try not to get the Ronas. So, I'm trying not to go anywhere and do anything until we can all get vaccinated. The cars are actually great. The Scirocco, I did a couple like small road trips on. Everything is really overdue for some maintenance stuff. Like the Scirocco needs an axle, the Cabby needs an axle. Everything's just kind of got one thing that I probably should be doing right now. I just got the guys over at BendPack sent me a quick jack.
Nice.
So I can't wait to use that thing.
Is that the
and
thing
see
you
how that
drive
helps,
over and it like compressed air
encourage me to get under the
lifts
car.
your car?
Yeah, it's not compressed air. It's like a hydraulic lift. It's same mechanism as a regular lift, but it's like two like tracks basically that you put under the car and it lifts at all 4 points. So, but it only goes like, lifts the car 2 feet up, so you're still on the ground, which is sucky at my age, but better than I had the Cabby fall off a jack stand recently.
Oh god!
While I was underneath it.
No way,
Yeah.
really?
So yeah, it was jack stand and then a 2x4 in the frame rail, and whatever happened, it just kicked the 2x4 out of the way, knocked the stand over, and I always keep a wheel and a tire underneath.
Yeah.
Like under the brake, and it caught it, thank God. So that was like it. I'm like, I gotta.
That's scary.
It was just inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the Lotus, I'd be dead if it was a Scirocco, one of those, the lower cars. So Quick Jack is much safer.
Have you seen this thing? The guys who
I
make
hope.
my
We'll see.
lifts
I've
found this
gotten a
thing
chance
in
to use it.
China that's basically like a forklift you drive right next to the fucking car from the side, and it just is a lift that it picks up the entire, and it's not a forklift in terms of it doesn't have a cab you sit in and drive. You kind of like push it like a shopping cart, but then it just lifts the entire car 6 feet in the air, just standing there. It's crazy. The guy was like,
How does it not fall over? And
I have absolutely no idea. Yeah.
then the answer to that is it does.
It probably
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
Falls over
does.
and kills people.
It's like a pallet jack that lifts a car. That doesn't
Yeah,
seem
pretty
safe.
much. They're like, we found these things in China. We can throw one in a container for you if you want. I was like, nah, maybe
Does
not.
it weigh
I think I'd
10,000
rather
pounds?
I think it does. I
I'd
think
rather
it's
rip
very
my
heavy.
roof off. It would have to be. I'd rather rip my roof off and put a regular 4-post, or 2-post, actual lift in
Yeah.
there. Which, I should have done years ago. I should have done when I bought this house, when I rented it the first time. That was a big mistake, not ripping the roof out and having a lift. What are you going to do?
I mean,
One day.
in
my retirement.
a man can dream,
Yeah.
right? Can you build a
Yeah,
little
I have
can you
to
build a
dream.
little tent outside and put a lift in there?
No. No. I mean, not in this neighborhood. They'd kill me.
Yeah.
The HOA is not about that.
There's no HOA. There's just a lot of people. No, I mean, my driveway's not level either.
Just tell them that your driveway is now where Tesla's finishing its paint production, and they would go, "Wow, that's so cool."
They've expanded.
The
shop.
problem. They all bring their Teslas here.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Hey, can you fix this?" As it is, I can't tell you how many times people say, because I'm always under the cars. People are like, "Excuse me, do you do work on other people's cars?" And I'm like, "You think I'm fucking busy here? Get fucking here."
Oh no.
No. The joys of living in a neighborhood and trying to be nice to your neighbors. I want to put like a big gate up,
Before we get out of here, I want to do 2 random number historical car reviews. And what number are we on? What number range are we working with right now?
From 1 to 2,543.
Okay, so Zach, let's set max at like 750.
Okay.
All right, random number 1, generate 299.
299. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet of every car I've driven for work. Oh, interesting. Okay, this would be July 15th, 2007.
Okay.
I put 35 miles on a 2007 Volkswagen GTI DSG 4-door. And I said, love these seats, love the directness of the steering, hate the fuel economy, and I'm already sick of the DSG. It would be so much more fun with a manual.
There you go. That holds up.
That's it. That holds up.
That holds
Love
up.
the seats.
All right, give us another number. 461.
461. That is going big guns. 1229 2007. That is a 2007 Kia Spectra 5 EX 5-speed.
Um,
How does that held up? Better
I
than
put
the Kia, I'd imagine.
650 miles on this car.
Whoa!
This was my first press car when I moved to California. So I had no car of my own because they were like Scirocco's in storage. I hadn't shipped it out yet. And there was a flood. And so I wound up being stuck with this car for like 2 weeks. It's a Spectra 5. So it was the hatch. And I was stuck with it forever and I hated it. Anyway, what I wrote was lots of drone at 80 miles an hour. Doesn't want to rev. What's the flywheel? 90 pounds. Slow. Uncommunicative clutch, understeers endlessly, but smooth ride, nice interior appointments, leather wheel and knob with metal pedals. Good deal for $18,000, but not particularly fun to drive. Great treble. Good car for the money.
Great treble.
Great treble. Apparently,
That's really reaching.
Mac and my ears
the
were blown
treble
out,
is really nice. Yeah. I had dated a girl that had a Kia Spectra. The generation before that, it was like an 02 or 03. That was one of the most dangerously horrible vehicles I've ever been around, and it was just.
But it had great tweeters.
Great trouble.
So did she. Let's do Zach 750 to 1500.
We're modern here.
We're gonna go up in range, and then we'll do 1500 to 2000. 802.
Okay. 802. We are at 729 2009, a 2010 BMW 750 Li. I put 380 miles on it. The day after, I put 90 miles on it. Okay. Wicked acceleration is masked by the quietness of the V12. I'm sorry, this is 760 Li. Hits the 250 limiter like almost nothing else in the world, except maybe an SL65. Maybe nobody does S-classes as well as Mercedes, but no one does engines like BMW, and this is no exception. Lag is well controlled, and since boost pressure is so mild, it's not that noticeable. Pulls hard to 6,600 RPM max engine speed. Trans is not as good as the old 6-speed in terms of shift smoothness, but it's close and probably will be by the time regular production starts. Almost done. Suspension is a bit choppy, and the active rear steer can confuse the driver. 8-speed has gorgeously spaced ratios, starts in second gear, by the way, and no wind noise at very high speeds is probably due to double pane windows. A worthy flagship. And by the way, that was in Germany. That's how I know it hit the limiter.
There you go.
It was a German launch.
All right.
Not exciting. Not exciting review.
Not exciting.
No.
But on point. How about Zach? Go 1500 to 2000. To 2000.
In the year 2000.
1657. Come on down.
16. You are the next contestant on 16. 49, 50, 50. Oh, Jesus Christ. 1963 Alfa Romeo Giulia TI Super. on track, and I have no notes on it. But this was.
I had notes. They caught on fire with the car.
They're somewhere, but they're not in here. So this was interesting. This was the launch of the Alfa 4C in Italy. This is the world's biggest clusterfuck. They dropped us off. Like, they didn't pick us up from the airport. We had to find our way to the hotel. It was a disaster from start to finish. But then they brought us to Bolocco.
That sounds like so Alfa Romeo.
Oh, it was so Alfa Romeo. So they bring us to Bolocco, and there are all these museum cars just sitting there. And they're like, okay. And we're like, what do you mean, okay? They're like, go on the track and have fun. So on the track, I will just list the cars. I drove a 2014 Mito on there. They have like their main modern car handling track, which had 2 jumps in it, and we did horrible shit. So on that track, I drove the Mito, a Giulietta 1.4 turbo, and a Giulietta 1750 turbo. And then they have what they called their winding road Bolocco test track, which had no curbs, and it was just a winding road through a field with trees to kill you.
I've filmed on that before.
And I drove
the one that has the like all the like 100-mile-an-hour straights breaking into 20-mile-an-hour hairpins.
Yes.
That's
the one with no guardrail, no curbing, just no runoff, just a tree.
Yes. You have an espresso and then you die.
Exactly. But I drove a 2000 Sportiva, a 750 sedan, an SZ Coda Tronca, a Giulia ITI Super, a Giulia Sprint GTA, and also the 4C Track. That was an insane day.
That's a good lineup.
And I remember Johnny was there and jumped out of one of the cars. I think it was the SZ, and he's like, dude, the thing revs to 8,500. And we're like, red line's at 6,000, dude. And he's like, the limiter didn't kick in. And we're like, this is before rev limiters were invented.
Oh my God.
Somehow the thing didn't blow up. He was like, I was waiting for the limiter. And I'm like, there were no limiters.
That's so funny. When I went to that track, because I didn't like the 4C when I first drove it here. And they're like, we're going to go to the Alfa Romeo's track and film this thing. And you're going to drive a 4C on their track. And I go, oh, well, it's got to be great there. They developed it there. It must be good on their track. Then I got there. No, it wasn't. And I was like, what were they doing this whole time? They were drinking espressos under those beautiful vestibules.
They were driving the old Coda Trunk of the old SZ at 8,000 RPM. No, that car is not magnificent on a racetrack, but I love it around town.
It has its charms, admittedly, but its limits are lower than one would think in the handling.
It does not carry the benefits of a mid-engine supercar.
Right.
It doesn't. Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Cammisa has dominated every Thursday on the Haggerty YouTube channel. He's got 3 shows going on. The Icons, right? Icons?
Yep.
Revelations, and Know It All. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Legends instead of Icons. Revelations, Know It All, and Icon, and they all go up every Thursday. Do you have 3 episodes every Thursday?
No, one every Thursday. So here's the trick. So I have 40 total for the year. So we do 4 seasons of 10 episodes apiece, and so half of them are Know It All, which is the Textplaner show, and then the remaining are divided between Revelations, the studio show, and Icons, the big one. But there's only an Icons every 8 weeks because that's all we could really produce on this budget.
Excellent.
But it's one of those Thursday. And
Excellent.
then every other day, there's Monday through Friday. There's a show Monday through Friday, and then Sunday there's a show every day. So the channel is busy, a lot of stuff.
And my show starts in April. When does Q2 begin?
I think
April,
the new season
right?
starts
January, February, March is Q1. Mm-hmm. April is Q2. Isn't that how that works?
Technically, that whole season starts whatever the Monday of April 1st is. So yeah, like March 3rd.
All right. Yeah, my show is called Modified, and we begin shooting it next week. I'm driving some really good
Very cool.
shit. Yeah.
You better. You better.
Thanks, Jason.
We'll be coworkers. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for giving up a little bit of your Saturday.
Happy to do it.
Absolutely. Follow Cammisa.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
At Jason Cammisa on the gram.
On the gram.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that is it.
That's our show,
All right,
everybody.
boys.
Have a great rest of your weekend or whatever day it is that you're listening to this shit. See you later.